We're live.
All right, everybody. Welcome to Dr. Tim, the show that frees you from fear and hate and shows you how to live a better life. So, I'm Dr. Tim. I'm an emergency medicine doctor, a health tech guru, and really a patient advocate, trying to make everybody's life better here, doing everything I can to make Southern Indiana, make the Midwest, and make America live a healthier life. So, we deserve a healthcare system that people actually love. People do not love our healthcare system, and there's a reason for that. And I'm not going to stop working until we get one. So, this is part of that, and you are at the center of that change. And so, today we have a show here with Sarah Blessing.
Hi, everybody.
My partner here on Project Next Media. We're going to talk about Oats. We're going to talk about islands and something called blue zones. The norovirus, so the cruise ship virus. A lot of people seem to be worried about that. We'll touch on some plastic in our bodies and where that comes from, how we can do something about it. And then finally, on a positive note around dementia, how we can make sure that we make it that dementia is less likely in our older life through the simple act of walking.
That's great. All right, let's get started.
All right.
Thank you, everybody that's joining on the live. Be sure to comment. If you're watching after live, keep commenting. We will see those and respond to you. We are live right now on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube.
So quickly, how are your New Year's resolutions going?
Great.
Okay.
I had surgery December 12th.
Mhm.
Took me a few weeks to recover. I had half my thyroid removed, and my energy was not there. My mood, I had migraines. It was a rough couple of weeks. And then about 2.5 weeks after, I became my old self again. And I am so thankful for my body, that I
Yeah.
got my energy back. I got me back. I wasn't having a migraine every day. I wasn't grumpy. So
That's awesome. So, yeah, getting ourselves back, getting our health back, getting our mental health back. That's the goal for this year and for the next decade and for our lives, right? We want to be able to live a healthy life into our 90s, be able to enjoy every day of it. And there's some simple things that we can do right now that we'll talk about today. And I myself, I'm 44 and I struggle with some health problems, and I have for quite some time. And I know that I can make the right choices that make myself feel better and make the next day even better. My wife, Missy, I have a saying that she said once to me that is next to my bed to remind me. I'll take a picture of it, post it one day, or
yeah, that'd be
bring
nice.
it, or bring this thing
Yeah.
there that's on my wall, which is every day I wake up and choose to do the things that make me happy. And happiness is a choice.
Yes.
Health is a choice.
Yes.
This just doesn't come to us. We have to make those choices. But it doesn't have to be huge, monumental changes, fad diets, big exercise programs. There's small things we can do to make those choices and kind of reduce the inflammation in our body, make our brains work better, extend our lives, and extend our healthy lives. And so, one of those things we're going to talk about is really simple. It's oats. So, personal story, I had borderline and just high cholesterol for the first time in my life about 2 years ago. And I was like, okay, that's not good. My father has high cholesterol. My father had a heart attack in his late or mid 50s when I was in high school. So it's not too far away.
No.
Saying,
Yeah.
okay,
44.
gotta
Yeah,
get
me
my
too. I'm 44 too. I'm
Yeah.
2 weeks older than Tim.
Yes, very my elder. And so, the thing that people in America do immediately is take a statin, a
Mhm.
high cholesterol drug.
Right.
And, one thing about the American healthcare system is we throw drugs at things immediately. But there are things that we can do, diet and exercise, to kind of improve our lives. But if our doctors say diet and exercise to us in those 2 minutes they have with us in those quick visits, it seems so overwhelming.
Right.
So I chose to change two things to see if my cholesterol would get back to normal.
Right.
And I chose to do one was eat lots of oats. That was it. And the second was put olive oil into my life instead of butter. Not all the time, just as much as just sometimes, and we'll talk about it. And what happened is within 6 months, I got almost to normal. Within a year, I was not only normal, but in what's called the protective range. So my cholesterol now is so low that it extends my life
Oh, wow.
beyond the normal life. And I changed two things. Started to change some other things after that because it became easier. Okay, I got those two things. Let me
Right.
do two more
Let's do
things.
2 more. Yeah.
So oats. Let's talk about oats. So you can find them everywhere, right? There's oatmeal, there are Quaker oats that you have in the morning. There's crispy oats, Cheerios. And you look at there, whoop, right there, heart healthy. What does that mean? We're going to talk about what that means. Here's some more oats here in kind. And so there's good things and bad things about these, packaged oats. And but the good thing that we want to talk about is that they have a carbohydrate in it called beta glucan, and it's in the wall of the cells of the oats, of the actual oats. And what that does is actually absorbs cholesterol out of your system
Wow.
and then passes it through you at the end of the day. And so you actually don't, anything you eat that has cholesterol, this beta glucan will actually bind it and not let it get into your blood. And why cholesterol is bad, it gets into your blood and then builds up these plaques in your arteries that supply
Scary.
supply blood
Scary,
to your
scary.
heart.
Yeah.
They build up plaques in the arteries that give blood to your brain.
Ooh.
And so when those plaques break off, that's when you get strokes.
Oh,
Or when those
wow.
plaques get too big, or sometimes they explode, is when you get a heart attack.
Yeah, I've seen those on TV when I was a kid, the things clogging up the arteries.
Hmm.
So oats actually helps unclog those things.
That's right. It's that easy. And so what I did is in the morning had, yeah, some oatmeal, but really just changed and had Cheerios. And, Cheerios aren't as good as maybe old oatmeal or quick oats versus steel oats, which are have even more better health benefits to you. But literally, this is a huge change, and it's a small change.
So if you have high cholesterol, if you're looking to improve your life, you're saying oats would be the best. Oatmeal,
Hmm.
steel cut oats
It's one way
would
of
be the
getting it.
best. If you don't have time for that, Cheerios, and maybe not just like Honey Nut Cheerios, maybe basic
Yeah.
Cheerios would be really good too.
And I'll say, even if you don't have diabetes and you're not having lots of sugar in your life anyway, have some Honey Nut Cheerios. I have Honey Nut Cheerios.
Yeah.
I literally, what I do is I get this and I get Honey Nut
And you
Cheerios
mix them.
and I mix them and
Yeah,
cut
that's a good
half and
idea.
half.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then I use oat milk now
Yeah.
instead of regular milk. But I'm not fanatical about it. I'll use regular milk in a baking recipe. I'll use regular milk if they don't have oat milk at a coffee shop. Sure. There's this coffee shop on Highway 62 in New Washington called The Coffee Shop, big pink sign on the left on your way to Hanover if you've ever been there. And there's a woman there, and I was talking to her. I got oat milk in my coffee, and she's like, I love oat milk. It's the only thing you have now in my coffee. And this is like working class person,
Right.
you
So it's
know,
catching on. So
yeah,
it's more available for people, the oat milk.
we
We
associate,
get
yeah.
oat milk and it's not too expensive.
No,
If you
it's not.
especially if you get the store brand.
Hmm.
Yeah.
And it lasts well. I still give cow's milk to my
It
kids.
does last longer. Yeah,
Hmm.
so we use
Lasts
oat
longer.
milk and cow's milk at our house.
Hmm.
So my husband, Chris, he is really big on trying to feed us the healthiest things possible.
Hmm.
And he has been making the two of us for breakfast overnight oats.
Hmm.
And he's using the better oats and he's making it in the night. And I have a recipe. He actually made a recipe. So I'm going to post it on here, or if Ellen can post it now. I don't know if we can post pictures, but he made for us the recipe to share with all of you of his overnight oats. My favorite fruit to have in it is blueberries, but when we
Hmm.
don't have blueberries, we use bananas.
Great.
Um,
Blueberries totally high in antioxidants, get
yeah,
the inflammation in your body
and it
down.
sweetens it up. And so you can follow his exact
Raspberries.
recipe and see if you like it if you want, or you can just do Cheerios, or you can do regular oatmeal that's quick to eat, whatever works for you. But I have noticed a change in my stomach health, in my energy. I feel better.
Hmm.
And then what's funny is 2 years ago, I didn't have high cholesterol, but my cholesterol was starting to go up. So I wonder if it's an age thing
Hmm. Oh, it
because I've
definitely is.
never had
Yep.
cholesterol problems my
It's
whole
just
life.
part of aging.
But just the regular
Genetics.
checkup 2 years ago, it said it was high. I eat more oats. I haven't had a problem.
Yeah, it's a really
So,
simple. Let me say one thing because I know someone will say it about this box or some other box. You look at the ingredients: whole grain oat flour, wheat starch, calcium carbonate, salt. Those are all fine. Trisodium phosphate and caramel color. Trisodium phosphate is a preservative, and it dries out the oats. It changes the pH so it stays longer, and makes it crispier. It's not necessarily something you really need in your body. It's never been shown to cause cancer, never been shown to do anything bad. But I want to say something about the way the system works. Just because it hasn't been shown to do something bad doesn't mean it doesn't do something bad,
Right, right,
right?
right, right.
So, because maybe the science hasn't, looked into it completely. So again, this isn't the end of the world, this preservative, but we try to stay away from preservatives as we can, and that's why,
I think we'll talk more about it on the show, but
yeah,
in general, the closest you can get to the natural food, the better.
yeah, yeah,
Eating cheddar cheese slices for just a couple cheddar cheese slices instead of a whole bag of chips, Doritos or whatever that have the cheese flavor. Obviously, you want the thing that's less
and
preservative.
please don't feel bad about eating something like
Yeah,
this,
I eat cereal when I'm in a
especially
hurry.
when you're eating other cereals that have tons of this kind of
Right, right, right,
stuff in
right,
it, right?
right.
So, take your time. I would say one thing on this: watch out. It does have added sugars in it.
And this has less added sugar than a lot of the other ones too.
Yeah,
So yeah, you
included
have to watch the
added
sugar.
sugars, five
We're going to talk more
grams.
about sugar. We need a whole
Yeah.
episode probably.
Yeah, a whole bowl of this has 11 grams, which is 22% of your sugar they're supposed to have for the day. So
So
do watch
I
out for
just
it.
eat that as a little snack when I'm starving
Yeah,
instead of a whole bowl because that makes sense. It has a lot of sugar. Yeah.
but
Let
cool.
us know if you're watching this. Do you guys have oats? Do you all notice? Does it help your health? Comment, put it in the chat.
And let me get back to just statins for a second.
Sure.
Those medications, they are miracle drugs in so many ways. They get people's cholesterol down, and people live longer because of them. They are one of the success stories of our health in America. But I'm an emergency doctor. I see people when they have the bad things happen to them, and statins actually can break down your muscles and your livers, but mostly your muscles, and make you feel very fatigued and
Oh,
tired. And people come in just feeling completely exhausted from these drugs. And so they do have side effects, and they don't work for everybody. And so just jumping to the medicine rather than taking your time and seeing if you can make a small change to make it better. I mean, it's
and
the
you're
easy
you're
changes.
a medical doctor, so you're talking to patients. You're seeing real people do this. So, best advice from Tim is if you find out you have high cholesterol, instead of immediately going to medication, see if you can just switch a couple things in your diet. Even just do the olive oil, the oil, and then the oats, and try it out, and then get another test, another blood test, and see if your cholesterol is
Yep.
better before jumping to a medicine that's going to make you tired because being tired makes your life so much harder.
So much harder.
And if you can have your energy, which I love it since my energy's come back, I'm just such a happier person.
Mhm.
So
And they say so.
everybody needs that.
But my doctor said, just take the medicine. It's easier,
Oh,
right?
mhm.
People will say that to you. Doctors will say that to you. And again, what I blame is the system more than the people, the end users of the system, more than the doctors, the nurses, the family members, the patients. It's the system itself. The way it's set up is that you have to see as many patients as quickly as possible
Right. Yes.
in order to be able to make the money that the way that Medicare pays
Right.
and other things pay. And so, where I want to make change is by changing the way that we pay for healthcare.
Uh-huh.
Very easy.
Right.
Instead of paying for just seeing you, which means, okay, give that person a statin, let me
Get
move
them out.
on. I'm going to
Yes.
get paid, get them out.
Yes.
Doesn't matter if I tell them a statin, or maybe I have to take some more time with you to talk about oats and oil, right?
Yeah.
That takes a while.
Right.
Or actually, no, pay me more for talking about oats and oil and not giving you the statin.
Right. So just change the incentive. The doctor is getting more money for
That's right.
giving the right advice that takes a little bit longer.
And that comes from legislation. So,
And I'm sure that that's happening in countries that have figured out healthcare better than us. I'm sure that they are taking more time and actually saying, "Hey, just change your diet, do
yeah.
these couple things."
And so olive oil, it has fat in it, but it's better fat for you than it's not animal fat. The animal fat is the fat that gets in the cholesterol, and the
This is
olive oil,
one
not so much.
this is one I work on the fat thing. Just quick note on that. I talk to a lot of people that are very scared, especially women, of gaining weight. And so they are very scared of oils and butters and fats. And I'm like, no, no, you have to put that on your vegetables
Mhm.
so that it soaks into your body, and it makes it taste better.
Mhm.
So, like
Just get those veggies in, yeah.
at my house, we're putting a lot of oil in our vegetables. We're mixing it up. It tastes so
And use
yummy.
oil over butter
Yes,
any day.
and like roasting the vegetables in the oven with the oil and like
It's delicious, right?
seasoning it. It's still, I love it. I would eat that for a snack over any type
Mhm.
of chips.
Mhm.
And my husband just started dipping cauliflower in a sugar water
Uh-huh.
and roasting it, and then you
Interesting.
sprinkle a little bit of salt on it, and he puts it on olive oil. So the
Mhm.
olive oil's on the pan and it's all nice and hot and it gets crispy and has like black
Nice.
pieces. Delicious.
Yeah.
And we bought it and we're like, oh, we just figured this out. We're like, oh, we have to buy way more cauliflower because we're just gobbling it up. So,
One thing we're going to talk about is sweet potatoes for
oh yeah.
a little bit later. But I do that with sweet potatoes in the beginning of the week. Take a couple sweet potatoes. They're, you can get really big ones. They're cheap. They're not that
No, sweet
expensive.
potatoes aren't expensive. Yeah.
And you chop them all up, put oil, just shake it in oil, put some salt and pepper on it, or maybe you like garlic and onion powder, or maybe you like some cayenne pepper if that's what
Yeah.
you like.
Whatever
Or
seasonings you
maybe it's
like.
like the fall and you want to do cinnamon and
Oh
some
yeah.
brown
Hmm.
sugar, like
Yeah.
a little bit, not a lot. Shake it up, put it in the oven for like at 400 for maybe 40 minutes. Take it out, put it into Tupperware, and now you have handfuls of sweet potatoes you can put on any dish all week.
That's a good idea.
And we
I'm
give it
going
to
to
the
share
kid.
that
We give it
with
to my
Chris.
son too. So, but yeah, so one thing that I don't recommend is putting oil on corn. Stick with butter. I can't possibly put oil on my corn.
Oh yeah,
Either.
yeah. Put butter, yeah.
Yeah.
And real butter, not margarine, just regular
Real
real
butter.
butter. Yeah.
But that's me. So, and we do live in Indiana. So the I can't. My in-laws would hate me if I told them.
We use butter too, and sometimes we just put both. We put a
Mhm.
little bit of butter and oil in it, and then you get both flavors.
Cool.
And then you're
Yeah.
not using so much butter.
And olive oil, especially, is has antioxidants in it. The where you hear the cold pressed olive oil. If you see that on there, it's even better for you. It's less processed, but it is a little more expensive.
And did you know truffle oil is not truffle oil? It's actually disgusting. Don't ever use it. It's more expensive.
I have no idea. Actually,
I listened to a chef talk about it, and I told my husband, and he looked it up, and we're like, never using truffle oils. It's fake. It's
Alright.
gross stuff. Just trust me.
So let's talk about fad diets. Fad diets, have been shown that they do not work over and over and over again. So, what's a cheap way to make some changes in your life that's not a fad diet that you can add on piece by piece by piece? Like do the oats, then do the oil, and do one after another. So you try to find these things where small change, it doesn't feel like a big change as you put it.
Right.
One of these things is called blue zones. It's not a diet. And so blue zones are areas in the world, they're called blue zones, where people are outsized amount of people live to 100, and that the older people are healthier. And what they did is go around and look at these different places. One is in Sardinia, which is an island off of Italy. Another is an island off Turkey. Another is Okinawa in Japan. Another is Loma Linda here in the United States and California, actually. Another in Central America, etc. And so they look at these places where people are living to 100, and they say, what are the similar things, right? And so it's not perfectly scientific, but it's an observational to say, okay, what are all these people doing the same? One is, getting back to it, they eat root vegetables. And what I mean by that is sweet potatoes.
Oh, wow.
So that's why I started adding sweet potatoes into my diet. It's helped, again, keep my cholesterol just keeps dropping.
That's great.
Right. And so it has antioxidants in various ways. Another is oils, over animal fats, but, not fanatically. You still
right.
Another big one is just exercise incorporated into your day. So that doesn't mean going to the gym 5 times a week. If you do, good for you. That's amazing. Most of us don't have necessarily
Don't have the time or the money.
or even the motivation.
Right.
So what can you do, to find that 30 minutes a day, or even get it up to 5 minutes a day? And so one of the things that you could do is simply just walk, right? And start to put some walking into your life. And that doesn't mean necessarily going out and doing a half an hour walk, which would be great. But that means parking as far away as you can from the Dollar General when you go into the parking lot.
Right.
And making that walk.
Right.
Even it's a
Just the
tiny
little,
walls.
tiny little things.
And those tiny little things,
Taking the stairs instead of the elevator.
stairs instead of the elevator. Exactly.
Yeah.
Those tiny little things actually will improve your heart health markedly. One of the things that it does, and has been proven to, and over the last couple, 2, 3 years, it's been shown really that it proves, is that it decreases your risk for dementia. And you will live longer and have, if you do have dementia, it'll be later in your life,
It
just
makes
from walking.
it makes sense to me. I'm not a medical doctor, but just thinking about it, when you get up and you walk, your heart is pumping harder, your blood is going through your body, you're getting more oxygen into your lungs, and all of those things are things your brain needs.
Mhm.
So it makes sense to me that being more active leads to less chance of dementia.
Mhm. When you start walking, it's interesting the way your nerves work, right? We have two brains, actually. We have like a reptilian brain, and then we have the mammalian brain, right? So we have the core reptile thing that every reptile has, that fish have, like right in the center of our brain, in your brainstem. And then the rest of it is like this big smart thing that's huge, that has trillions of neurons that like allow us to do this
Right,
podcast, right?
right.
And so that when you're walking, actually, the idea of putting one foot in the front of the other doesn't actually get up into the bigger part of your brain.
That makes sense. That's
Once
the reptilian. We just automatically do it.
you just do it.
Right.
You start, and once you get
Okay.
into a pattern,
I get you.
you're just doing it, and it will just go, 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 go. So there's something kind of primal about walking that allows us to kind of rest, relax, while yet doing what you're saying, getting those oxygen and nutrients into the rest of our body. So it's interesting that it's such a primal thing to walk. We need to do it. Our bodies need it. Our evolution needs us to do it. It's not an option.
Right. Right.
So get out there and walk is one of the kind of the easiest things. The other is people are in multi-generational families, and that they're supporting one another in different generations. So here in the US, we have a lot of issues with how it is that we're caring for our elderly. Loneliness and isolation, that's what we've been shown in the US to really decrease lifespan,
Right.
to make dementia come on earlier.
Mhm.
And so if we can thwart loneliness and isolation at any times in our lives, including when we're kids and we're having loneliness and isolation around social media,
Right.
right? And being caged into ourselves in that way.
Right.
So getting people out of themselves around other people actually stops dementia from coming on at an earlier time.
And that's something I think people that are paying attention to our young people with social media are really concerned about. They're very lonely, um, and less time on the devices, more time out. Use the devices to connect with your friends to go and do things.
Mhm.
So
And there's legislatively, it's going to come up where, when is it that we are allowing kids to have access to social media or not?
yeah,
Right? Like where the age
I'm
protection
so
is
lucky
happening.
because my 14-year-old does not want to be in social media.
Interesting.
He is very data driven on his own. He's just naturally like this. And he's like, it's not good for you. He's
Mhm.
like, oh, I'm not doing it. So all of his friends are. I follow a lot of them. I'm friends with them. And but he's not, but he does use his phone to call and text and try to hang out with his friends.
Right.
So I'm really proud of him
That's
because
awesome.
I think it might be hard. You know, I've got twins that are 6. Who knows whether they're both going to be like that too,
Right.
to try to say no with the social media when I'm on it.
Mhm. Mhm.
You know, my heart goes out to parents with that because it's hard.
Yeah.
It's hard when it's there.
Cool. I mean, again, I think about it. It's going to be something that is there's going to be fights about it in Congress. There's going to be fights about it in state legislatures. What kind of restrictions are you going to put on people? And there's
Mhm.
freedom of speech things, yet people aren't
Oh
yet
yeah.
18. And so do they have the same rights?
We know it harms
Like, is it a
girls,
women's rights?
especially with your image,
Imaging,
the
and it's happening
body
to
image
boys too.
problems. And but voice, yeah, definitely. It's an issue. So we can talk more about that later. What's
Yeah.
your next thing? We've got
Absolutely.
oh,
So one thing that kept coming up is
yeah.
for people as we were thinking about what the show would be this week, and it's norovirus, or the cruise ship virus. People are freaking out about this virus.
Okay, norovirus, cruise ship virus. I've
Yes.
seen it a little bit, but I haven't clicked on any of the stories. So fill me in. What's going on?
All right. So it's at it's really spiking right now.
Okay.
And what it does is a virus that gets into your body and gives you nausea, vomiting, and diarrhea.
Okay.
And it's terrible. It's 24 to 48 hours of feeling that way, can't put anything in your mouth, losing all the fluid out of you.
So it's a stomach bug,
It's a
basically.
stomach bug, but
It's
it's
a
a
specific one,
it's
neurovirus.
a specific one.
Okay.
And it really hits you. It's not about food, it's about a virus that I could give you right now.
Is it, how do you catch it? Is it through touching?
Through touching things,
Okay.
for the most part. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so this virus, it's being seen that it's exploding around the country. It's for two reasons. One, our exposure to this virus during the pandemic was much less. Right. This was both the positive and the negative of the pandemic and the
Right.
isolation that we
Right.
had, where we were isolated from these viruses. That's great.
But then when we came together,
they start
right.
happening again.
Right.
And so we're seeing the effect of that in some. The other thing is we have a test for this now.
Oh, nice.
We didn't have a test for this before.
Oh, this is
And
new.
so this is something that is called testing bias.
Oh, because everybody's testing and they're freaking out because they have the scary word.
Mhm.
But we've probably been having it for years.
Absolutely.
There was just no test for it.
Yeah.
Got it.
I'm a doctor. I get norovirus all the time. It's like a rite of pat. Like once every 2 or 3 years, you get norovirus. Your immunity starts to wane, then you get it again because you're treating these people in the emergency department all the time.
Right. That makes sense.
And it's terrible, you know. It's
It sounds
24
real
to
fun.
4
So an
24
added
or
bonus
48
to being a
hours.
doctor. Woohoo!
Absolutely. And you know what you have. You get IV fluids. You take some medicine to stop some of the nausea and the vomiting. Eventually get on Gatorade or Pedialyte, and then you move on and you get better. But it's really contagious to the people in your home.
Oh.
And so you try to sleep in a different room, try to like separate yourself, etc. And that's the biggest thing that you have to do here. If you're having these symptoms, is remove yourself from the rest of your family because they're going to get it if you get anywhere near them.
But are you saying we're not going to die from this and everybody needs to calm down?
Absolutely. If you have chronic conditions that you need lots of good fluid in your body, yes, it can be very dangerous to you. And some people who are older and have these chronic conditions can die from this, especially if it's not treated.
Right.
But if
So
it is treated,
stomach bug. Right.
if it is treated, you get your fluids, you're there, you're being observed, and you're going to be able to get through this.
So if you're a healthy person,
Mhm.
you should just stay home and make sure you're hydrated.
Absolutely. Don't go around other people.
If you're an older person and more vulnerable, or if your immune system is more vulnerable, should they go to the doctor?
Yes, 1,000%.
Okay.
They should go to the doctor. And if you're a healthy person, and you're so dehydrated that you can't get yourself off the floor, kind of thing,
Then go.
yeah, go to the doctor and go to the urgent care. Go to the that might get fluids. Go to the emergency department, gets fluids, and that's what you really need is an IV with some fluids in it and some medications. Get by. It's also caused the cruise ship virus because it happens in cruise ships.
Yeah, because everybody's touching everything. We're all stuck on that boat together.
I've been on one cruise in my life. I had the cruise ship virus.
Well, I understand why you stopped at one then.
Will never go back on a cruise. I'm sorry to the cruise ship industry if I'm getting anyone mad right here. I'm sure it's great to work on cruises.
I've been on 3 cruises.
Have you?
My last one, a person died. It was New Year's and they fell off.
They fell off?
Yes, they were drunk and they fell off. It was an employee because they kept all the people safe, but the employees had their own party. So that was horrible. So that's my last one. Yeah, I'm like, I don't need that trauma in my life. And I knew him. He was an entertainer and I saw him do the show. So we're traumatized. I'm still traumatized from it happening a long time ago before Micah was born.
That's crazy.
So,
but anyway, some people love their cruises.
Fine if you love them. We both have our reasons, different and terrible, for why we don't do them. Oh man.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anyway, so that's norovirus. You want to avoid it, yes, but if you get it, it's really not the end of the world. It's gonna be terrible though. You're not going to like it.
Well, we had a really bad stomach bug. My 6-year-old brought it home and we all had it. I wonder if it was that.
Could have been.
It could have been. We didn't take a test. We were just like stomach bug.
Yeah.
And we're all okay, but my 6-year-old Asher is traumatized still. So it's a daily thing. It's a daily thing we work on with the viruses. We've taught him a lot about viruses to try to help him.
Got it. Yeah. So I mean, it's true. It's real. It has bad things in our life, but it's going to be what they call self-limited. It's going to go away. It's not going to kill.
So the panic with the media over the norovirus.
This is why we exist.
We need to calm down.
Next, right? It's about
let's calm down the fear.
With the fear and hate
and the anxiety.
And the anxiety.
Yeah.
That's what headline, norovirus coming to your town, like,
Okay.
come on, let's
Stomach
actually
bug.
talk about this and get through it.
We've been having this for a long time, but now you can label what virus it is.
Exactly.
Got it.
There
That's
you go.
good to know.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. So tell your people that are scared about it, let them know.
Well, the other thing I wanted to talk about, and people have been talking to me about this, and we could do a whole show on
Oh
this,
yeah, I want to do a whole show on this.
is plastic.
Yes.
All right. So there is plastic in all of our bodies at this point. They did this study where we just talked about cholesterol, right? And it gets into your carotid artery, the thing that you can feel beating right there. And that's the blood that comes from your heart and goes into your brain, gives it the oxygen, gives it the blood that it needs. Guys, has to go through here. The big ones. They get plaques in there. All right. Plaques are buildup of cholesterol and other gunk. And those plaques can break off and get into your brain and clog up an artery in your brain. And that's what a stroke is.
Oh, okay.
So stroke is when that gets in there and you can't get blood or oxygen into or nutrients into the part of the brain, and it starts to die. It dies quickly. Brain's pretty weak, actually. It dies real quickly from this stuff. And so what they go in there is with a kind of a rotor-rooter and start to take out the plaque, right? When it gets too big.
Right. So yeah, that's what your emergency surgeries are doing.
It's not even emergency, even not emergency. Just you do it when it's really easy. You just put a stethoscope up against someone's neck and you can start to hear what's called a bruit. It's like shoo, 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 rather than
so you can just hear how fast.
All this turbulence.
Wow, I didn't know that. That's amazing.
Getting right instead of a nice clean. There's turbulence and you hear that. And then we'll put an ultrasound on there. We can see where the plaque is, how big it is. We measure it, and if it's at a certain thickness, we'll go in and kind of rotor it out.
Right.
Kind of clean
the pipes.
And they did this study, and so again, eat your oats. So, but did the study where they just did routine, and then they sent it off to a pathologist, and they said, "Is there plastic in these plaques?" What percent of them do you think had plastic?
Everybody.
Literally every single person.
I mean, animals. It's everywhere.
We just have plastic
in the ocean,
everywhere.
All the animals in the ocean, everything.
And there's this big case right now where a state out west is going against Exxon. They're suing Exxon. And where are they suing them over? They're suing Exxon because it's fossil fuels. It's a gasoline that makes plastic. And plastic bags and other things. I'm not sure everyone's aware of that, but it comes
I don't think, yeah, it makes sense. It comes from oil.
Yeah.
So oil companies are making plastics.
That's right. They're giving the goods to other companies to make plastics.
Okay. I don't know whether I knew that connection, but that makes sense.
And so we've been, really since the 80s having this, became strong, having this, recycling program start to burgeon in our country. We have this big recycling program. Well, this is the state of California is calling them out on them. There's other attorney generals getting involved. Other states are thinking about doing it too, and saying, you've had a campaign for decades to tell us to recycle.
Right.
And the reason that's beneficial is the more people say, okay, if we're recycling, it's okay to have plastic, the more they can make plastic, the more money they can make. And Exxon made $100 billion last year, just to remember. And so when you're filling up your tank, remember that they're making $100 billion and remember who you're blaming about this.
Right.
So, and that goes for when Trump's president or Biden's president.
Doesn't matter. This company's doing this damage to all of us.
And so you're having these companies, and then they put the 1 or the 2 or the 3 or the 5 or the 6 or 7 on the back, right in between the triangles, in the triangle.
Oh, right.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yes.
So the 1, 2, 3, those are pretty.
The recyclable number, right, on the triangle.
So I have a plastic bottle here, and
there
this is a 1. Right?
Okay.
Is that a 1? So it's a 1 on there. Ones and plastic bottles. Yeah, plastic bottles are actually one of the most easiest things to recycle. And especially water bottles. And so we have in most of our towns and counties ways to recycle this. Most of our towns and counties do not have ways to recycle the higher numbers.
Right.
7s.
And most people aren't looking through the numbers.
Being like, oh, this is a 4.
I just
Does my town have the ability to do a 4?
I don't know.
But you don't know.
I don't know. In my town, we have a recycle thing pretty close by where you can drive by and throw it all in
Right.
different sections. I have no idea what the
And so there's
plastic
been
is.
this huge campaign, and this is what these fossil fuel companies being accused of just like kind of like what cigarettes did back in the day, where they said, "Oh, they're healthy, they're healthy, they're healthy" to people, and they made you
Right.
think they're healthy.
Right.
A similar thing where they're saying, "We can just recycle them. It's cool. We
Don't
can
worry
get rid of
about
plastic."
don't worry about the billions and billions of plastic bottles we're producing. They're fine. You can recycle them.
But even don't think what they're not suing them about the plastic bottles. They're suing them about the big, like hard Tupperware things, and the big things that are recyclable, but there's no infrastructure to recycle them.
Right.
So
Yeah.
you're like, "Oh, I'm doing a good thing. I'm
Right.
doing a good thing. I'm going to recycle this," but it goes into your recycling bin and then goes nowhere, and
That's what
actually
I heard.
clogs up the system,
Yeah.
so that you actually don't you get less of these
I
recycled.
heard even if you're recycling plastic, it's probably going in the trash. That's what I
And
heard.
a lot of that has to do with clogging up the system with these recyclable goods that are recyclable, but we have no infrastructure to do it.
So you're saying we could change the system, we could change the government to recycle plastic, but we could regulate it,
We
and
can
you could say
expand our
which
programs,
plastics would be better to make sure you make those type of
right?
plastics.
And that from your when you're recycling in your house, which numbers you have the ability to recycle or not.
That would be nice. I think we should do that. Let's
Yeah,
do that.
we'll figure out what it is for us. Maybe we put a map together for what it is for at least Southern Indiana,
Yeah, that's a good idea because
and
I don't know.
say what you're
I bet
able
a
to
lot
or
of
what you're
people
not.
would be willing to try to recycle it if we can. Now, I just use a water bottle,
Mhm.
so I don't buy plastic,
Yeah.
but I have a problem when we do events and we need water. People
Mhm.
are just bringing cases of plastic water. And I'm like, there has to be a better way.
Yeah.
And there is, you could just get a jug of water and people could put their drinks in it. There is, but it's more work.
Yeah,
It's
it's more work.
easier to get the plastic bottles.
Whenever I buy a plastic bottle, I make sure that we use it multiple times.
Yeah.
And so
There
Missy
was
and
a
I
thing that
have
said
a.
it was bad. Is that true that it's bad to reuse plastic bottles?
I'm not aware of that, but I mean everything's relative. So we'll
But
look
are
into that.
you getting plastic in your body when you're drinking that plastic water bottle? Because
Maybe.
I heard that you are.
Yeah, maybe. I mean that's
And
part of
I
it.
also heard like this bottle is thicker, but I heard the
Yeah.
cheaper
We're
ones
really
are worse.
consuming a lot of plastic in our foods, but really in our water supply,
Mhm.
and other ways that we're getting it into our body. It's even in the air many times. You can't avoid plastic.
Right. You
It's
can't.
it's
You can't.
everywhere.
You can make it less.
You can make it less, but what are we going to? I mean, even plastic. It's just out there. It's in our bodies. It's in our reproductive organs.
And I've heard that is making sperm count lower for men.
They say that, right? And I don't know if there's any evidence, and we'll look at all. A lot of people said that this week as we were preparing for this. I'll look deep into what evidence we have of that, but we do know that it is in our reproductive organs.
Yeah.
So what it's doing or not is the question.
That's interesting.
And so,
So my husband, again, I love him so much. He's so big on research and what's best for his family. He'll do anything. So he researches the plastic thing. So that's why I have this. And then he also makes sure our filters in our fridge
mhm,
gets plastic out,
mhm,
or at least the best one. So he researches and picks fridge filters. So our water's pretty safe. Like our water's pretty safe and you can just drink from the tap water, but we go ahead and drink from the fridge filter. It gets some of it out. So I'm sure I have tons of plastic in me,
yeah,
but we are doing steps.
what you can.
And
So
yeah, so and I'm
my
not
point
giving my
here
kids water bottle plastic either.
My
But
point here is that we need more transparency. We need more truth from our politicians, from our government to say this is what is going on. This is the infrastructure we have or not. So we're not blindly doing something and being a fool. They're making a fool of us.
right, right.
And so let's, again, put the right people in, do the right
Yes.
policies that we have.
Wouldn't it be nice
That,
if we
that
elected intelligent people that knew facts?
Well, more than facts, the facts that are trying to actually protect people and respect what people know. Yeah, I love how Dr. Tim is drinking some more.
I
It
thought it
says,
was funny.
I mean, it's part of life. This is my point. It's just part of life right now.
Right.
What are
A
we
lot
gonna?
of us don't have time. We're using those for convenience.
Yeah, and so
Let's
I'm
recycle
never
them.
going to talk about zero tolerance of something or zero,
Right.
like take it
And I'm
completely
not
out
going to
of it.
judge somebody for having a plastic water bottle.
Mhm.
We don't need to judge. Our life is hard.
Yeah.
we're doing the best we can.
And so I wish I remembered my actual bottle today, but I jumped in the car and didn't. So I'm drinking from this. So
Carly's giving lots of
and
good
it's
stuff.
good. And Carly is giving stuff. And
Heart to Carly. I love you, girl.
yeah,
She's my friend.
it's more sustainable. What was this about farmers that I just saw? From it just went away. Saying it's more sustainable. It could also help our farmers. We need more infrastructure and sustainable solutions. Absolutely, that's
Right,
the
right.
point.
Yep.
Is we need infrastructure in place, and then we need truth about what is in place, what is not, so we can make better decisions. Thanks,
Right.
Carly. I didn't
Yep.
think you were giving judgment.
No, I said that. I
Yeah,
said that. No
but
judgment. Yeah.
yeah, she says no judgment here. The point is we just want to make sure people know the Next Media is about making sure that we're not judging one another, that
Right.
we're not
Let's just
using
try to help each other.
right. And what our behaviors are now today are going to be hard to change. And what are the small steps? And if we make backward steps, how do we call people in to make those forward steps next time instead
Right.
of making them feel
So
terrible?
we don't need to yell at the people not, that we haven't got proper recycling for plastics. We just need to move forward. Let's make legislation so that we can recycle plastics. Let's make the type of plastics that are easier to recycle, and let's actually do it because it is a giant problem. I know a lot of people have switched to water bottles and are doing your part, and I think that does help, but we just need to be realistic. They're still pumping tons of plastic into this, for money. So we should be able to recycle it.
This is one of the big things of RFK, who's
Oh
going to
yeah.
come on to be our HHS administrator, our Health and Human Services administrator under Trump. He's very much into eliminating plastic. So it'll be interesting to see what happens from there. We'll definitely be keeping an eye on that as the next 4 years comes together.
And follow us for the non-judgmental, not so scary, not anxiety induced information about what is going to happen in these next 4 years, because I am nervous about it. And just talking to you, who seem to know, well, not seem, you do know a lot about what's going on, makes me feel better.
Yeah.
So keep subscribing to our stuff so that we can help with the next 4 years, so they're not so intense for all of us.
Yeah, that's in the 4 years after that, and the 4 years after that. So last thing we wanted to talk about today and kind of double down on is about dementia. And talking about preventative dementia. We're going to talk about this topic a lot on Dr. Tim through the year and years. And we'll talk about lowering our risk for it as younger people, what we can do if we're experiencing the beginning stages of it, and really talking about people who are in the sandwich generation, right? The sandwich generation are those of us who have kids and we have responsibilities to them, but we also have responsibilities to our parents or maybe some other loved one that we have.
So that's
older.
me.
Mhm.
So my parents are older and I have 3 children.
Yeah.
But I know it's going to be affecting me more as they get older.
Mhm.
Yeah. And so
Yeah.
that's you too,
Oh,
right?
very much so. Yeah, dealing with it at home as we speak on both sides. And so we'll get into those stories and talk to other people who are going through that. It's an enormous issue. Not only that, but the amount of people who are becoming 65 and over, 80 and over is getting bigger and bigger
Right.
every year.
I think almost everybody knows about that. We really hear about it in the media.
Right.
Like, is there enough people to take care of them is an
Right.
issue.
How do we take care of them?
It's expensive. If
Which
they're
gets
going in some
into-
type of home, it's expensive.
Which gets expensive. It gets into immigration policy. 25%, 30% of the of people who are home aides are immigrants.
I didn't know that.
Right.
And we need those people desperately to help take care of these
Right. And we don't
aging
have,
people.
and I'm not even talking about deportation versus not. I'm talking about how do we put in a good program to make sure that we have the caretakers we need coming into this country, because we don't have enough of us who are already here to be able to care for the aging. The numbers just don't match up. There's
Right.
going to be more aging needs
Math.
than just pure math.
Pure math.
And so we need more people to do it. So what's that system going to look like? What kind of legislation we could put in there? What kind of systems can we put in there to vet people, to be able to have people who we know are great at the job of taking care of people who want to come to this country, and figuring out a way to do that safely for everybody. So, I mean, it gets into so many different parts of policy that we'll talk about. Yeah. So dementia will be a huge part of it. Again, let's just connect it to walking again. It is the number one thing that has been shown to thwart dementia, to make sure that dementia does not come into your life at an early age.
I think it's funny because you don't need science to know this is true, but all this new research that has been pumping out recently about when you're outside, how happy it makes you, like just
Mhm.
looking at trees or looking at water or looking at the wind and or nature and animals. There's all this new research pumping in about how good for you that is.
Yeah.
And it's like, duh,
Yeah.
because when you're outside, especially when the weather's nice and you're walking around and you're looking at beautiful things, you're like, I feel better.
Yeah.
So I mean, it goes with that too. The
My
mental aspect of just being outside if you can
being
walk.
mindful, thinking about a higher power. And higher power can be just be nature, can be the stars, can be your religion, your God. Gets back to blue zones. One of the things that was in common with many of these blue zones
Those are the
is that,
people that live to be 100 in certain areas of the world.
yeah, and so they call it blue zones because historically, the way that they did the maps, it was kind of circled in blue.
Oh,
And
okay.
so that's
That
why
makes
they call
sense.
it blue zones.
Okay.
It's just a historical thing. And so many of these places, what unites them is they believe in higher power and they're connected to a higher power. And that could be God, that could be religion, that could be nature in some way. Loma Linda, right here in the United States, out west, is a place where a lot of Seventh-day Adventists live and very community-oriented people, multi-generational activities going on, people getting out and exercising, but also sharing that belief in what they believe in God, going and making sure that's part of their
That
lives.
makes sense because if you have a close-knit community, you're doing more things with with those people, so you're more active. Being around people is one thing that helps your mental health, just being around others that are caring. So I get it. I feel like I have it in my town. I'm pretty lucky. I know a lot of my neighbors,
Hmm.
especially for running for office. I go and door knock and meet them, and then my kids play with their kids.
Hmm.
And I'm just feel so blessed where I live because we have that community thing where
That's great.
my kids out playing with their kids, and we can
Absolutely.
text each other and know where they're
Yeah.
at and stuff if we need to.
And gets back to, loneliness, isolation, making sure that's not part of our life, which is the second biggest thing to talk about around dementia. When people start to have loneliness and isolation and they're not really leaving their homes, not being engaging with the world as much, it really decreases our ability to think well.
Yeah. I know I saw in your notes you sent me the other day about this show, you put this cute thing where they asked, a woman that was 100 if she exercises, and she said, "No, I don't exercise." And then they went and they watched her life, and it's like, "No, you walk every day to this place, and it's really far."
Yeah,
And
it
she's like,
was actually
"Oh,
not far. That's the
oh, it
thing.
wasn't." She was just getting a little bit.
No, so the thing is, she lived on a hillside
Oh,
and
that's
her
right.
church was right up the hill. And so it wasn't that far, but she had to like walk like
That's so
this.
cute.
And her every morning she went to church and just got her heart rate up and walked. And
So just
so,
putting it in your
yeah,
daily routine, it
exactly.
doesn't have to be called exercise, but in your daily routine, you're getting up, you're moving. If you're older, you don't need to pay for an expensive program.
No,
You just need to carefully get up and do things and put it in your daily routine.
get
Um,
out of the house, get to Kroger to go shopping and park as far
You
away as you
guys
can.
that are following us, if you want to put in your comments, how do you all get your exercise? What do you do? Are you just walking around daily doing 1,000 chores and that gets your steps in? Or do you make time for it? I personally run for my own mental health.
Hmm.
When I can't run or bike, those are the two things I do. When I can't do that, I notice I start having more negative thoughts.
Hmm.
And it's also the only time I get to watch TV. So I'm running on a treadmill and I really like getting to watch something good on TV. Um,
I
and
like.
but I like running outside too, but it's just so hard with kids for me to I can't leave them
Mhm.
and I don't want to push them. They're too heavy. So
Yeah.
yeah.
One of my New Year's resolutions, I don't think we even talked about this, is doing, I like to do yoga in the morning.
Oh, nice.
It's free, it's on YouTube.
Yeah. Yeah.
Again, and one of the kind of concepts for Project Next and Dr. Tim show will be the things that we recommend will be inexpensive. They will be
Yes.
cheap. We're not going to ever recommend doing a $500
And
diet.
I don't recommend that. So I have friends that I know that have bought expensive programs to work out.
Mhm.
And I'm happy for them. They are like getting healthier. But what I don't like about them is it's really intense. It's
Mhm.
100 days. They're doing some program, I don't know what it's called, and they do 100 days of working out no matter what, and they're sore, and they're like I know one time somebody like hurt their ankle, like, I'm doing it anyway. I got to do
Yeah.
100 days. It's like you don't need to pay money to do a program, especially if that program doesn't care about your needs. If you have an ankle sore, you shouldn't be running on it.
Yeah.
If and so
So that's what I'm doing with the yoga. So, and we talked about, my wife and I talked about this, like, what is the, and preparing for the show, preparing for this way, preparing for my 40 during my 40s. We've
oh
talked
yeah.
about my goals of what I want my 40s to look like. I do that every decade. One of this is how do we get to this baseline health? And so I decided I'd do yoga every morning, 20 minutes. That's it. And so that when things are bad, when I'm tired, whatever. It's only 20 minutes of pretty easy yoga, or I can go more intense. I hurt my this huge crink in my neck this weekend. It was so bad.
Ouch, that hurts so bad.
And I wanted to be outside with my son, going and playing in the snow, which we had the day before. I was out there, sledding, shoveling, everything. But Sunday, it just wasn't working for me. But yet I could do 20 minutes of yoga, even though that was there.
So
And
just
so
pick what you're gonna do.
no matter
If
what,
something is sore, you can still do something
if
else.
I was doing that 100-day exercise, P90X, whatever, it's great. But if you don't have that baseline kind of activity, then you're doing nothing. And the
Right.
point here is to continue to engage with your health every day.
Right.
And so do something very minor achievable, and then you can add on to more if you want that day.
That is the big, as we're wrapping up here, that is the big thing with Project X Media is take time for you, take time for your health. You matter, you're important. If you're not healthy, if you're not feeling well, it is very hard for you to take care of your family, take care of all the other responsibilities you have. I think sometimes that's hard on you. I
It
notice
is.
you put a lot trying to help everybody else and then you get drained down.
Yeah,
Making sure to take time. So you're doing stuff.
I'm
You're
trying.
you're trying to put yourself there and make sure you're feeling good so that you can do all these things and try to help the world. So I would love to hear from you all that are on this, that are watching it. What are you guys going to try to do? What are you doing now? Make sure you take time for your mental health and your physical health. And I'll put the oats,
The recipe.
the oats recipe up as soon as it ends. And I hope you guys have a great day. Oh, couple of big things I want to announce, Tim, with Project Next
Sure.
Media. We are now on podcast form. This episode is going to be a podcast. It'll be out later today. Thank you to Scott Aaron Rogers for doing that for us.
It's on Apple,
It's on Apple and Spotify.
iTunes, and Spotify.
And yep, it's on all the main places where you get your podcast. It's free, so you can listen to that now. If you do, please rate us, give us a review. That helps so other people can find us. And then we are also got some huge news planned. Guess what we're doing January 28th on a Tuesday evening?
On a Tuesday evening, right? It starts at 5, goes to
5 to
10.
10, we are going to do a giant 5-hour live telethon to raise money for Project Next Media.
Mhm.
And I've been telling everybody the 3 things we need to do with this money. We need to help pay for our content creators. We need to pay for advertising to get this company bigger. And we need to pay for equipment, sound equipment, audio, visual, all the stuff that comes
Lighting,
with.
lighting studio,
We want to start taking these shows on
the
location.
location stuff.
That's gonna
Yeah.
be epic. I'm so excited about that,
Mhm.
and we need more, equipment.
And what's the AV company that we're using?
We're
Let's give a
using
shout out to them. They've been
Sweetwater.
great with us.
They've been amazing. They call me multiple times to ask questions. They've gotten stuff ready, so we're ready to make an order soon to get better equipment, so that is coming.
And we have a donation from someone to do that, which
Yes.
to get us started. And
Yes.
this is again this change that we're trying to make to free us from fear and hate, to be able to have a network that is there to make us better people and a better community. And really, the change starts with all of you, right? It starts with all of us. It's a group effort to be able to get out of this addiction we have to media that is trying to scare us.
And divide us.
Neurovirus.
Yes.
Nope. It's just extra testing. It's something that's going to go away. It sucks, but it'll be okay.
Right.
Right? Like, just tell it for what it actually is.
Yeah, take a deep breath, let it out, because the world's scary enough as it is. We don't need fake things pounding on us. We don't need fake fears
No.
and fake division. So let's stop doing that and
And
let's
talk about how we
work
can make
together.
the change. How
Yeah,
we can
yeah,
make the change.
So please share. Please like, please comment, please tell your friends. We are growing. You can be one of the first people to watch our growing network because
Hmm.
we're about ready to take off. I'm so excited,
Yep.
Tim. I want to.
Soon we're gonna have a big real launch, right? The way this is working is we're getting our initial content out there, looking for the followers to try to get a baseline here. We are, getting all of our equipment together, putting the shows together, and seeing what works, what doesn't, and then eventually, sometime February, March, we're gonna have a big launch. Before that, on January 28th, we're gonna raise some money to help support that launch when we'll have kind of the official
Oh, and
Project
we're gonna
Next
have
going forward.
merch. We're gonna have
Yep.
merch. That's one way you can help us is you can pay more. You can pay $20 for a magnet, a car magnet, uh, $50 for a Project Next mug, $100 for a Project Next shirt, and we'll ship it to you. And then we get a lot of those proceeds, and we're using a local company to do that. That's a friend of
Yep.
mine. It's going to be epic. So
Yep.
mark your calendar for January 28th.
Hmm.
Anytime you want, we'll be in. We'll be going live the whole 5 hours. It's
Yep.
going to be so fun.
It's gonna be great.
Thanks everybody. Thanks to my husband for making the music. Thanks to your wife for all that she does
Yeah.
to let you do all of these things. Thanks to Ellen for letting us use her place to record. And thank you to all of you that showed up and that watched. Thank you for sharing. Check out the podcast. It's under Project Next Media. It'll pop up if you just put Project Next Media. It's so exciting.
Yep.
And anything else?
Oats, walking. Let's talk about plastic more. I'll do a lot of research. Norovirus, not the end of the world,
Yep.
but it's gonna not be great.
Walk.
Try to wash your hands and
Yep.
remove yourself from other people if you have it. Walk and eat some sweet potatoes.
Walk, sweet potatoes.
Yep.
Yeah. Good luck. Love you guys. And we'll catch you next time.
All right. Thanks, everybody.
Bye.